Welcome to the Myth and Magic Authors Podcast, folklore and fantasy topics aimed at creative storytellers. To write stories and challenge your brain with exciting ideas, delve into these presentations and reflections. See how fantasy realms are based on actual world history, legend, and lore. Study fairy tales, nature fables, and supernaturalism to engage in a jumble of concepts that will trigger your fancy and get you writing imaginatively. Now, here's your host, Neil Mach.
Today I'm chatting with the non-fiction personal development author and writer of paranormal thrillers, Bradley Charbonneau. Bradley has released over 30 books, but Bradley is not just a busy author, but also, and this is perhaps more important, he's also a creativity motivator. So as we approach this year's NaNoWriMo novel writing month of November, it's a good idea, I think, to introduce you to this morale-boosting author persuader. So without further ado, let's go over to the Netherlands and chat with Bradley. Hello.
Hey there.
I've already told the listeners a little bit about you, but I wanted to, before we get into that bit, where were you born, Bradley?
In Los Angeles,
Ah,
California.
that's why, because your command of the English language is excellent, and you write in English, don't you, on the whole?
Yes. Yeah.
But where are you based?
I'm outside of Utrecht in the Netherlands,
Aha.
the center of the country.
And how do you pronounce your last name?
Charbonneau.
Charbonneau. Now, that's, to me, sounds pretty much French. Is that
Very,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So,
Father's side from descendants from France, mother's side descendants from Germany, over to the States.
Yeah.
Typical American way, generations back.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about creativity and about doing things. In particular, We're going to be talking about how to write your first novel because we're approaching NaNoWriMo, the novel writing month. But I understand, I don't know if this is right, but I understand you entered the authoring world in around about 2012, real authoring, when you accepted a challenge to write every day for a month. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So tell us what happens, why that came about, and then also, if you could, just explain what happened afterwards.
Sure. So it's crucial. It's also quite timely as it's almost, just a few days away from a 10-year anniversary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's actually pretty exciting. And one of my upcoming books, I'm referring to that whole period and looking back how that 30 days was crucial. And I didn't even realize how crucial until much later.
Right.
So to a tiny bit of backstory, but I was a closet writer. I dreamed about writing. I talked about writing. I wished about writing. I talked to other people about how I was someday going to write. The typical thing, right? I was doing everything about writing except actually writing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly.
Minor element missing there, right? And I very much closet, right? Very much didn't tell too many people. And so, in fact, a buddy of mine back then, or a friend of mine / colleague, I had worked with a guy for years and was friends with a guy for a few years. We knew each other fairly well. And yet he didn't even know that I even had this ambition. And at the time, he was running a project called Monthly Experiments, where for 30 days you do something different. And he has a group of people and he brings them all together and everybody does it all together. And it's very community and collaborative and all that stuff. And he has great success, right? Because he knows about, he knows, of course, about habits and how they're formed and what makes it all work and stuff.
Yeah.
But not, it was usually other stuff, no coffee or wake up at 5 a.m. every day for a month and all that stuff. And yet for me, he said, all right, because what he really wants is, what are you scared of?
Right.
It's not it's not, I don't know, wake up at 10 a.m. Well, that's not hard, but wake up at 5 a.m. or something. So for me, he's thinking, what am I scared of? Well, apparently I have big dreams of writing, but I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And so he said, all right, for November, 2012, it's going to be right every day. This is like in honor of Bradley Charbonneau here.
Yeah.
And other people did it too, and I did it too. And I was scared to death. I was, like trembling, like I'm going to the doctor's office or something.
Yeah.
It was not pretty. Because if you think about it, dreaming is safe. Dreaming and
Yes.
wishing and wanting and talking, it's all safe because
Yeah.
I can't fail because I'm not actually doing anything.
Exactly. Yeah. To
And
me,
that's a beautiful thing.
yeah. To me, creativity is about experiencing the doing.
Yeah.
And so many
Yes.
people say, "Oh, I'm thinking of writing a book," or "I'm thinking of writing my memoirs. I'm thinking of writing some poetry." Well,
Yeah.
just go and write it.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
wife, she's does a lot of crafting, needlework, beading, pottery, and the comment she regularly gets from neighbours and from family is, "I don't think I could ever do that." Yeah, notice the word "think" there. They don't say I can't do it. I don't think I can, and then they come up with
Yeah.
excuses. I've got no time. I've got no patience. Got no
Right.
skills. Got no space. But all those is nothing to do with it. It's all about the
Yeah.
propensity to want to do something for fun.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
learned that by being told to do it. It was almost
Yeah.
like a command, an instruction.
Yes. And unfortunately, I believe like I'm a strong guy. I'm a perseverant, patient, powerful guy, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like to think of myself like that. But still, for this, because it was important to me, because it was close to my heart, it
yeah,
made it all the harder. Like if I say I'm going to, something stupid that I don't care about, do that for a month. Well, who cares? It's no skin off my back, right?
yeah, yeah.
But this was serious. This was because deep down, I really truly wanted to
Wanted
be
to
a
do it.
writer.
Yeah,
And so if I begin down this path, that means there's potential failure down the path.
yeah.
And I was such a chicken. And I don't use that word lightly. I mean, that's like a bad, in my world, I don't want to be called a chicken. I
No,
don't want to be
right.
called scared,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It sounds really baby, kinderlich, Dutch word,
yeah. I love that word. Yeah,
babyish or something,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But it was true. I felt like I'm chicken. And so sure enough, of course, as he expects, as he has experience with, I bumble along for the first few days, the crying and sweating and trembling and
yeah.
was not fun. But then about 2 weeks in, it got better. And then finally I hit 30 days. And it's so funny. From the outside perspective, he wasn't jumping for joy or what a miracle or, did the heavens have opened and I see the light?
Yeah.
He was like, good job, dude. Right. That's about it. Whereas for me, this was like life altering, thunder crashing,
Yeah,
seas opening, magnificent moment. And
yeah.
it was just 30 days. And by the way, it wasn't like, write Hemingway or Shakespeare
Well, yeah,
perfectly every day. No, I was allowed to write total crap every day if I
yeah,
wanted to.
yeah.
There were no rules, self-imposed rules.
I think that's very important as well. I think that it's a common misunderstanding that your creative output has to be flawless. I
Yeah,
always say to people, don't compare yourself, your creative output, to anyone. Don't compare
yeah,
your needlework to my wife. She's been doing it for 50 years. Don't compare your
yeah,
books to J.K. Rowling. Don't compare your
yeah.
painting to Monet or your songwriting to Paul McCartney. Never expect excellence because excellence comes with practice, and you've never practiced this before. So it's
Right.
like picking up a musical instrument you've never touched in your entire life. I've never touched a viola, for example. I don't expect to be able to play in the London Philharmonic Orchestra the next day, do I? So my advice to people is, number one, just do it. And number
Yeah,
two, do not worry about fine tuning because that comes much later, much later.
yeah.
So that's what you experienced. So
Then it was, I like the idea of, with apologies to Australia and California, but like a forest fire. All you need is a match and this little tiny flame
yeah,
and one little twig. That's all you need to start, right? And you can. This is very destructive thinking here, but just go with me for the metaphor here.
yeah,
But the entire forest burns, and all we needed was one little start. So similarly, back to writing or creativity or creation,
yes,
we just need that spark. just that first bit, just at day one. Actually, day zero is actually kind of harder because day zero is when I think you're going to make the decision to do it.
Yeah.
That's crucial. And day one, you're going to do it. But day zero, I am going to do this thing tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you do it.
Sense.
So I kept going. I did 30 days. And then because I had like seen the light, I kept going for 100 days. And then I'm like, I'm on a roll here. I'm just going to keep going. Why should I stop? I'm doing great. And this is, it's, I know now looking back, it's so simple, but I was happier. I was more confident. I was having fun. And because I wasn't just whining and worrying, I hit 2,000 days. I hit 2,808 days. And for unknown reasons, the day my mom passed away,
right.
I said, it just hit me. I'm like, you know what? I use like a lot of running analogies, also because I hate running.
Oh, right.
But it's just like, you know, when you're in great shape and you're running along, and you don't even feel you're running.
No.
You're just going. I'm not, oh, my leg hurts. Oh, I'm really tired. No, you're just cruising. And so I felt after all those days, I was in shape. And I want to make a very important note here, because when I tell people this, especially new writers or new creators, they get all freaked out and they think like they're calculating like, Bradley, that's 7 years. Do I have to do it for 7 years? Ah! Right? Like, no. 30 days. 30 days and you'll know. You'll know yourself. Do I go which way? Like yes, no, maybe. You'll know. But you gotta, just like you're saying, you can't read about it. You can't just listen to Neil and I talk about it.
No,
you got to do it. There's no substitute at all.
So I was telling people before you came on air that you've got a great idea, and it's called the Worst Book Ever Challenge. So would you like to explain it and tell us all about what's going on? So
I'm a pretty snarky, clever, witty, silly guy who does crazy stuff, right? I mean, you know, I wrote for 2,808 days. I mean, I must be some kind of wacko, right? And so as, you know, of course, people ask me about this. They said, oh, you wrote for so long. Oh, what did it do? How did that help you? Oh, I'm so stuck. Oh, help me. And so what usually happened was that people, I mean, just as you and I are talking about right here, they're talking about, yes, I mean, how often do you hear this? I'm working on my book. I'm on revision number, 4 or 42. I've been editing it for 8 years. I've had 4 editors go through it, and I've got stacks, blah, 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 the whole thing, right? And because what happened was that I was helping people write their best book. And I quickly realized that is not the way to go. Because just like you're saying, you don't learn the viola and you're in the Philharmonic tomorrow. No. So then jokey, funny, silly me says, you know what? Let's go for an easier goal. In fact, let's make it like impossible to fail. And let's write your worst book first, right? Forget like book 14 or whatever. No. We're just gonna goof around, mess around. We're gonna write terrible stuff. It can be total mumbo jumbo. I don't care, but then I get serious because I mumbo jumbo, fun, haha, funny me.
Yeah.
But then I want a cover, I want a title, I want a subtitle, I want at least 3 chapters, and I want like a conclusion. So I actually want the format of a book. It's just that the inside content part can be total silly. I shouldn't say mumbo jumbo. You're not allowed to write mumbo jumbo. We'll try. You'll probably go delirious and you'll be forced to write something. But the idea is just to get it started. That's crucial. And finished. So you have this thing in your hands. Here's my book. Yeah. And then the joke is, of course, somebody's going to ask, oh, you wrote a book. That's awesome. How is it? And your conversation begins with, it's terrible. and they say, excuse me? And then just feel like the lightness, and feel the weight off your shoulders when you're able to joke about this first book of yours and how it's terrible and there's no plot and it's horrendous, whatever you made it become. Just think of that lightness of talking about it. Because if you're going to because let's take for just a quick moment, the discussion after you wrote your quote unquote best book ever, your first book, and you're at the cocktail lounge, as if I'm in so many cocktail lounges.
Yeah.
You're at the,
we keep going to those all the time.
Yeah, all the time. Okay, let's bring it back to reality. You're at the supermarket, and somebody says, "Hey, oh, you wrote a book. How is it?" And if you immediately, I like physically feel the pressure right now. You get all this pressure because this is your first book, and it's supposed to be the greatest thing ever. And here's someone in the checkout line at the supermarket, and you need to tell them in 24 seconds or less
That's right.
the summary of why it's the most magnificent piece of literature written of all time. And you better get started because she's checking out her, strawberries right now. And you're just going to fall into a puddle of tears on the floor rather than saying, it's terrible. And that person at the checkout is going to turn around and say, what? That's interesting. Tell me more.
Yeah, and I suppose you've got rid of, it's almost like you've burnt that offering, that you can move on now,
Yeah.
because the next book can't be that bad. so
Exactly.
you've done that bit. From now on,
exactly. That's it. And so if it's really bad, that's why I call it also your worst book ever.
Yeah.
It might not be the worst book ever. Maybe I wrote a worst book, but it's your worst book, because after this, they're only going to get better and easier and funner, and you're just going to get that serious devil off your shoulder.
Yeah. Number one, I suppose I better ask you, how does somebody get involved in this? So is it something you sign up for, like a course, or?
Yeah. So it's funny because you and I spoke a couple weeks ago, and there have been quite the drastic changes. And
Okay.
I was debating getting in touch with you to talk about these, but I'm just going to tell you live right now.
Yeah, fine.
So what's happened is that, yes, I've had this program, How to Write Your Worst Book Ever, and I've run it 3 times live. It was mid-corona, so it's all online and everything.
Yeah.
But I got so much pushback about the word worst. So many people would come up to me and say, they like me, they know me, they trust me or whatever. And they say, Bradley, I'm intrigued by your program, but I'm afraid I'm going to be wasting my time because I'm going to create this bad thing.
Yeah.
And if they gave me 5 minutes and I could explain, just basically what you and I've just been talking about, and they kind of get it, then they're like, oh, I get it. Okay, cool. That's for me, or that's not for me. That's fine. But then they get it. If I had the 5 minutes and I could explain, then it would be okay. But I have a business coach and another sort of partner, and both of them are just kind of, Bradley, just take out the word worst. And in fact, the last round we did take out the word worst, and we called it easiest, which I thought was a whole lot less fun. But whatever, it worked. So this is quite the big changes in my world last week. And we have decided, because I also have a partner even came in, and the partner even said, I really want to work with you, but I think this can be bigger and better. Worst book is super fun, but I think it could be an element of sort of a bigger, better program. And so I'm telling you this live. I know you don't know this, but hey, surprise, surprise, here you go. The core of what we're really doing is kind of back to what you and I have been talking about, and that's creating, create, just like you just said, just do it. And so I even have a book called Create, and it's one of my most popular, my most personal favorites, because I think that's the key. And the key is, create could also be called just do it, except that it's trademarked by Nike, I suppose.
Yeah.
And so create could be many flavors. One of the flavors being write your worst book, or maybe it's your silliest book, or your shortest book, or your easiest book, or whatever it is. Or then another partner of mine says, I know you're a writer guy, but I'm into video, and I'd like to get started in video, but I have the same fears and hesitations that you're talking about with audio. Or Neil, you mentioned music. Or even me personally, I'd like to get into music, but I have the same ridiculous thoughts I had 10 years ago. Oh, I'm terrible. It's going to take forever. When am I ever going to actually start? And all those fears. So the worst book ever has because I still believe in the concept of starting this thing, shedding all of the fears, and just going for the fun zone, the playful area.
Yes.
And going for it, and then gotta finish.
Yes, you got to.
But I'm cleaning up with words like worst, I definitely have as like a flavor, as an option, and I'll absolutely talk about it. But I got to admit, it was killing me in the branding and the marketing of it. And only a very small number of people would, when they get my wacky humor, they're like, that's brilliant, I'm in. But my partner is like, Bradley, this is not going to work. So this has become and it doesn't even have a name yet, other than something with create, because that's at the core. And I think, then for me, that's honestly, I'm going to say this sentence that's going to sound very bold, but what I create is how happy I am.
Yes.
If I'm creating, I'm happy. Creating is my joy, more so than money or fame or whatever. Creating is my joy, treasure.
I think for me, it helps me express myself. You don't have to necessarily write. You could do it in beadwork like my wife, or pottery. It helps me to meet other people like you. I would never have met you if we hadn't have both been creators. It helps me fill my day. You know, there are people in the world, and my neighbour is one of these, who moves stones from one side of his backyard to the other all day because that's how he feels his day. It's very scary to think there are people like that who that's the only thing they can do. And it also positively motivates my mind. And I feel very sorry for somebody who can't do any of those things.
Yeah.
But they can just do it, as we've been saying.
Yeah. I love that. I love what you're saying, how I'm thrilled to hear it. And it's sad for the rock mover next door, but it's not his cup of tea. And I have of course I have a book. I always say I have a book called, but I have a book called You Don't Have to. And it's kind of for your neighbor, because you and I are here, rah, create. That's the secret to all success, right? The secret to happiness. Here it is. And the rock mover guy says, well, I like moving rocks. I'm happy with that. Well, if he's happy and fulfilled with that, then awesome. More power to him.
I suppose you're right.
It's just you and I, that would drive us crazy, I think. And our outlet, our secret to success, I shouldn't even say, well, success, depending on what you define as success. For me, success is how happy and joyful and meaning and stuff like that do I have. Then that's my success. In that case, I'm a super successful guy.
Yeah.
Right. Because I'm creating. I can't, by the way, the 30 days way back when, I can't stop. I mean, sure, I stopped my actual, daily, every day in a row thing, but I did 4 videos this morning, right? It's 3. By 11 a.m., I had created 4 videos, partly for this upcoming workshop.
Yeah.
Because then once I'm, speaking of which, collaboration is also key. The fact that I did that 30-day challenge together in a group, that was key. If the guy had said, oh, Bradley, you're on your own 30 days, see you in 30 days, bye-bye. Ooh, I don't know. That would have been harder. But
that would be.
The group thing. And that's also, so this worst book ever, it used to be a 10-day program.
Okay.
But when I get the feedback, people want a little more depth, and they like the 30, and I know the 21 days to a habit thing. I get that. So, and 30 is kind of really clean with a month. It's just clearly a month. And so it's going to include parts of Worst Book Ever.
Okay.
Because that's my baby. I just can't let it go.
Yeah, no, that's
and I know it works. I believe in it works, but I'm going to bring you in softly with beautiful words like create, and we're going to get it done and all this positive stuff. But then I'm going to kind of sneak Worst Book Ever in there.
So where should people head to then?
So the simplest is, and this is very much a tribute to the 30 days where I began. So the simplest place is to go sign up for the waiting list at 30.repossible.com. Repossible, repossible.com. And there they'll get signups and they'll hear all about it.
Okay. And what about if if somebody is listening to this just wants to follow you and see what you're up to, can they do that?
Sure. They can go to just repossible.com.
Yeah.
Or if they can spell my name, if you got my name spelled anywhere, they can find me there too. I'm pretty easy to find. But speaking of creating, one of my favorite books, it's actually a 1-word book.
Yeah.
And I wrote this in kind of sarcastically during one of the programs, because some people were stuck and they couldn't finish their books, even though they called it the worst thing. They just couldn't finish it. And so I on the fly, I think I have a video in 24 minutes where I record the entire process from start to finish with a title and a cover and a book and an upload and literally up onto Amazon in 24 minutes tops. And I wrote a one-word book, and it's free. And I'm not going to tell you what the one word is because it's crucial. But if you want to, dear listeners, if you want to go search for this book, it's called The One Word Book That Will Probably Change Your Life.
Excellent. I love that.
And that kind of thing, like the super short book, the inspiration for that was, see, this book is one word. And I published it. And that one, it actually has good reviews and stuff, right? I made it free because the word's really important. I really believe in the one single word. It's a verb, the one word in there. And I want to share that with the world. And so did I worry about, was it the right word? No, because that was really easy. The one word, I knew what that was, and it was super important for me. And then the silly part is that I felt, you know what? I don't even need any more words. That's all I need. And so I'm done. Boom, boom. And I'm trying to walk the talk with get over your fears, just hit publish, get out there. Because you can't improve on nothing.
Exactly. When I pick up the viola, at least if I pluck the first note, I'll be able to say, well, at least I've started now.
Yeah.
Well, how are you getting on with that? Well, I've done one note.
But at least the music coach can come along and say, look,
Okay.
well, you're holding it wrong, or you put your finger over here.
Just to let you know, you're supposed to pluck it, not blow it. But I'm glad you've got a note out of it.
I like that. That's a great line. That's a great line. How bad? Look how bad! And look at that. And we're laughing at it. We're laughing at it, right?
Yeah.
We're having a good time about it.
Yeah.
That's crucial. That's crucial. You know, I can only say this after tears of sadness and frustration, and I hate to say it, but years of tears. Ooh, that's a bad song.
Yeah.
Years of tears, and that's the only way I can laugh about it finally, because I finally got over all that heavy professional blah blah expectation blah.
Yeah.
And finally I can laugh about it. And why can I laugh about it? Because I just busted through the fear crapola, and I just did it. And I failed a gazillion times. And because I think we learn more by failing.
Yeah, of course.
That's yeah. Because if like you said, the viola, you went and just jumped on there and started playing, and you're a whiz, then you think like, oh well, that was easy. Oh, no big deal. I didn't learn anything.
Yeah, I mean, I always have thought that you have to actually almost put yourself into a mindset where you expect failure. And that's another big problem for people. I think you have to go and find failure, which is why I like the idea of the worst book, because that's really what you should be doing. You should be embracing failure, because that's the only way you can learn. And that's a big problem with writers, because everybody wants to be the next Tolkien, the next George R.R. Martin, but you're not going to be, are you? I mean, they obviously failed over and over again to get to where they are. You're them, aged 5 or 4, aren't you?
Yeah. And then don't compare yourself to whoever. Beethoven at age 5 is probably already writing symphonies.
True.
So don't stop with the comparison stuff. And
Stop
again, like you said,
yourself.
with your wife who's been doing that for 50 years, there's no way. And you're never going to catch up. Don't worry about it.
So, Bradley, I think, have we covered everything you wanted to discuss? Or is there anything else that is burning passionately in your soul?
I think just the fact that we're able to laugh at this together is really the point, frankly. Yeah. Because here we are, two guys laughing about failure. If you think about that, I don't think I wouldn't be laughing about failure 10 years ago. I'd be crying in a corner in a puddle of tears.
Yeah, I got
a total psychological disaster, right?
Yeah.
And yet here we are busting through, and I've got plenty of failures under my belt now. And I think the failure, because you just said, even searching for failure, that's really cool. I like that.
Yeah.
That's even like crazier, really. But awesome. That's really cool.
So, okay then, could you just go through that website that people should go to if they want to sign up?
3030.repossible.com.
Okay.
Repossible.
Brilliant.
The idea of repossible, by the way, is being able to create possible again and again.
Yeah.
Right, so fail, try, do it again. Fail, do it again.
That makes sense as well.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
okay.
Good stuff.
Well, good luck with everything and keep me updated. And I'll be really
Yeah.
fascinated to see how you get on. Maybe we should have another chat in 6 months' time and we'll see how it's going
Would love
and
it.
what you've
Would
learned.
love
Oh,
it.
brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really great talking with you. It's just really a kindred spirit here in the failure and the creating. And I just love it because, as I'm sure you well know, not everybody is so jokey about failure, and it's a serious topic. And hey, you guys should be more professional, and you guys should worry more. You guys
There's too much
you
worry
guys
in
should
the world.
struggle more.
Yeah, there's too much worry and struggle in the world already. I don't think
Yeah,
we
exactly.
need to actually add to ours to it.
Yes. Thank
Good.
you. Yes.
Love you. Keep safe and keep
Yeah,
creating.
you too.
Bye
Yes,
then.
absolutely. Great.
Cheerio.
Thanks, Neil.
Bye.
Bye.